So, this evening we are with the two of us, Rogier and me. Some people of you know us, some people we are new, but yesterday you saw Rogier speaking, and me, I gave a lecture on Monday. We are doctors from Holland. I'm a family doctor, Rogier's a psychiatrist, and we also married, so we have a lot of exchange of our work and also of being already here for 20 years in Albagnano. And last Monday I started to talk about the overview of the problems that we are facing in the world. If you were there, hopefully you remember parts of it, but it was about chronic diseases and also the impact of the chronic diseases in our society, and also what could be the causes of the chronic diseases. And we spoke about inflammation. And just to repeat a little bit, and maybe you remember this slide, but when we have chronic inflammation and chronic infections, you can see here, and or we are also inactive, we don't move that much, and or we have also obesity, all these factors, finally, they can create a process that generates, finally, chronic diseases, the ones you can see here. And if you think, what is xenobiotics? This is all that is added to our food, but also medicines that we're taking, so everything what is not natural that we have as our intake. And the first evening, on Monday, we spoke about it in a more overview. Fossi spoke these days also about, for example, the microbiome. And now this evening, Rogier and I wanted to focus on these two, the chronic stress and the sleep, because also those two factors of lifestyle factors are very important to improve our life, reduce risks, and it's also reduce these symptoms of inflammation. So, and then tomorrow evening there is the last talk about how to change our habits, seen also from the Western point of view. We hear a lot these days from Lama, Michel, how to change our habits, and also he will talk a little bit more about that. All right, let's have a look. We are quite overstressed and overstimulated. Are you agreeing with that, or you're quite... Only one, the one who is going to speak now. No, I see some nodding heads. Yes, we are definitely overstressed. And worldwide, the amount of information that comes to us every year still increases with 5%. So more and more and more we get input. And it is quite a lot what we digest each day. It's 74 gigabytes, and that's compared to 16 movies a day that we are watching. All information. And one other interesting thing is that if you compare this with our life that we had in 1600s, this amount of information was the same in a whole lifetime. What we digest nowadays in one day, in one single day. Can you imagine what is happening with our brain, what we have to digest each day, and how much overstressed we are? For some people, they really feel the overstressed, but we can agree, hopefully, yes, we are in this situation. So, what is our basic response on stress? And most of you know maybe this type of reaction. So we have this fight, the fright, and the flight and the freeze. And it starts with fear. So when we are in a stressful situation, we either or we run or we freeze, or we fight. And this is a very useful reaction that we have. It's a very old aspect of surviving mechanism of ours. And so there's nothing wrong with this type of stress. It's also called acute stress. And just to go through it, if we have this moment of super stress, it's good and we're happy, but later on we feel tired. So there is, let's say, also a downside. It's very important that we can focus. So this stress and all these hormones that create this adrenaline and this cortisol, it helps to focus, but also what happens when we are in this focus, we lose overview of the whole situation. So there is always one part and another part of it. Also, stress helps us to overcome injuries, inflammation. But on the long term, we talk about chronic inflammation and also chronic diseases. And also another logic for us, let's say, if we have to fight or we have to run, of course our heartbeat goes faster, there's more blood flow, but there is less blood going to the intestines. So acute stress, fine, but later on the stomach and the intestine needs to recover and start to digest again. So this is a normal physiologic process, but in the long term also costs energy. And then, just to go into more detail, if we see what this stress response does with our in our system, we talk about the sympathetic nerve system. That's the one that is activated when we are in this fight mode or in our stress mode. And you can see here different things that happen. So the pupils are very big. We are very aware. All the energy goes to the heart and the lungs, but not to the intestines. And of course, and also we spoke about this in the first day, a lot of sugar is created because this helps us to run. And the hormones comes of adrenaline and noradrenaline to give this push. And other parts of our body, they have to wait until the stress moment is over. And that's a very important part, this parasympathetic nerve system, the one that needs to be activated and will be activated in the moment we relax again. So when the danger is over, then this system gets more active. And this is a normal and natural process that we have to, let's say, all the time keep in balance. And then you can see that other parts of our body starts to be more active. So this is a normal state. Then, if you look in nature, it's very interesting. So for animals to release the stress, they shake very strong, and then the problem is gone. They're not thinking anymore, ooh, this was quite dangerous, that I almost was eaten by this lion. They just shake and they go on. For us, we have this mind, and it's a part of the mind is very good that we have and we think about it, but for us it continues and continues and continues. So it's not always an advantage that we have this this mind. So we also need to be aware of what our thoughts are doing. But in nature, it's very interesting that just after the strong stress, in 90 seconds, they can release the stress. And it's different for us. Well, maybe we could learn to shake well. But there is actually one very interesting way to reduce your stress. When you're stressed, maybe it's a bit weird when you're at the doctor that you say, wait, and then you start to shake because you learned it is helpful. But to touch yourself, and after something that was stressful, and you touch especially also your face, it's a very easy and good way to relax and release stress. Very interesting. Just touching the skin. Also, when we as a doctor just hold hands or put a hand on someone's shoulder, reduces very quickly this level of stress. And also as a relative, we can do immediately something to the other, or hold or embrace. And so we sometimes think, what can I do in such moments of strong stress? Just hold. And also in the past, when, for example, also when I was having my night shifts at Pronto Soccorso, then people were coming inside, were still shaking. Then we said, oh, shh, everything fine, everything. We start to hold their hands to reduce the shaking, but actually it's not. It's a way of release. So we actually have to support and say it's fine. And give the space to shake. All right. So this is all natural. But what happens when this stress is continuing, and this chronic stress? So if it is too often or too much, it's very hard for us to release this stress, and we don't get back anymore to a normal state, that this balance between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic is completely out of balance. So you can see here that the sympathetic system is overactivated and the parasympathetic is understimulated. And what you can see here, this is a normal situation of stress and that we recover well. But after a while of stress, of too stressed and too much, and also that we sleep less, we get exhausted. And here you see that slowly we don't go back anymore to the baseline. And here starts the chronic stress and also the impact of it on our body. And you see over time, the baseline even gets more high. So this is the unhealthy part of stress. And actually, we have quite a lot of chronic stress in our society. So we have to find ways to reduce the stress and get back to the baseline. What are symptoms if this chronic stress is high? You can see them here. For Duccio, where's Duccio? He was about to be here almost. Here you see. No, just joking. Yesterday we had also a talk about sex, but it is true that the sex drive decreases. You can get skin irritations, the tension, of course, in the muscles that we know. We have this problem that in the night we start to chew, let's say, on our teeth, the teeth grinding. We get numb and this apathy. We have troubles with concentrating, headaches, anxiety. We can get far more easily angry, stomach problems and fatigue. Does anyone don't recognize these symptoms? Okay, all the hands are down. Just for the people who are watching at streaming, everyone recognizes these symptoms. So we actually know very well this situation. And one more slide to show what are the influences of this chronic stress. You can see here also in another way that it has impact on the brain, on the heart, on our joints and muscles, the immune system, the skin, the gut, and the sexual reproductive, let's say, part. So there is a lot going on and we want to reduce this. So we need to find some solutions, and maybe Rogier, you want to come over and share with us some insights of how to reduce the stress, because you are dealing as well as me a lot with this in your clinic.
Thank you so much. Buonasera a tutti. So I think Elkana asked me to come here because I'm always dealing with stress, not only in my patients but also in myself. So I'm an experienced expert in this. Now, yesterday we also talked about how to deal with inner states, and somebody was asking then what are the risks when you take stimulants. For instance, some students nowadays take medication which is used for ADHD, and they buy it on the black market, and then they use it to study all night long. Not only students, many people do this. But the trouble is that when you do this, it's very difficult to calm down again after you did your exam or your work or whatever you had to finish. So the trouble is that then you have difficulty to sleep. And when you have difficulty to sleep, you wake up tired. So what do you do when you wake up tired? Maybe, I think, especially also in Italy, we have a coffee culture. So you take some coffee, right? But the more coffee you take, the more stressed you get. And then in the evening, you have difficulty to calm down. So you have difficulty to sleep. So sometimes when we have difficulty to sleep, then we take either a glass of wine or maybe smoke marijuana or take prescription medication, hypnotics. But all of these substances, they decrease the quality of the sleep. And so again, we wake up very tired. So what we do in the morning, we take the coffee or the HGAD medication, or we buy something, and then you get in this vicious cycle. And that's something to be aware of. So let's see how that works over time. What you see here is that this is the growth of the population, the world population, and this is the amount of billions of coffee we are using. So the increase in coffee use is stronger than the increase in people. So that means every person, as a person, we are using more and more caffeine to wake up or to enjoy, whatever is the reason. But then, the interesting thing is, the same increase is in the medication to calm down. So we have the same increase in the morning of coffee as the increase in tablets to calm down our mind. So these are benzodiazepines, which are hypnotic drugs, also against anxiety. And you see in colors the different parts of the world. And you see that almost in every part of the world, it's increasing over time. And this, we are now here. This is the expected growth of the next years. But you see quite a substantial increase. So we are using more to wake up, and we are using more to calm down. But all of this is by using a substance. And yesterday we had a discussion also about psychedelics, and as a way to enter our unconscious, which has pros and cons. But one of the most difficulties about using psychedelics or medication is that you have to take something from the outside to change the inner world. And today we would like to focus on strategies how to change your inner world, your stress, without taking substances, either psychedelics or medication. The same is true not only for hypnotics and anti-anxiety medication, it's also for antidepressants. You can see here in 5 countries in colors, from 2000 to now, a few years ago, you could see that the daily dose, the average dose of antidepressants and also the amount of people using is growing. So we are more and more taking substances from outside to change our inner world. And that has something to do with chronic stress. There may be a lot of more factors involved, but at least it's also chronic stress. And many people, they like to get rid of stress. But I don't know about you. I have experienced myself, if you are in a long period in stress, you become used to it, or even attached to it. I don't know if you have this experience, but sometimes it can be somehow interesting, or it can be a wish to keep the adrenaline going. No? Yes. You're all looking at me. Okay, maybe only the 2 of us, we have this problem. Anyway, no, the benefit of feeling stress, of course, is that you are very active. and you're able to do more. So you have a feeling of overcoming your challenges, reaching goals, and we have a lot of expressions in our world referring to this state, which we almost find it's normal. So, for instance, if you snooze, you lose. It is an expression that means you need to keep on being aware, alert all the time, otherwise you lose. And also bucket list, I don't know if you know, but many people have these wishes. If I'm going to die in a year or something happens to me, there are things I like to do. Most things on bucket list have to do with adrenaline. Jumping from a cliff, doing something that is spectacular, which gives a rush, but can be a nice sensation, but it's not lasting. So we have to be aware not only to get stressed, but also to be able to get rid of it. So I didn't see so many people of you nodding when I was asking about stress. Now maybe we do a test. So if you find yourself avoiding rest and relaxation, or constantly checking your phone, or saying yes to everyone who is asking something from you, these are signs of chronic stress. So who finds one of these three things to be true? Okay, now we're getting there. Yes. So if we have this for too long, we maybe also heard about being an adrenaline junkie. This word comes from what Elkana was explaining. When we have stress, it happens something like this. First there is fear, then we freeze, and it's either fighting or flighting. And the energy to do that comes from a gland near the kidney, which gives us adrenaline and also cortisol. These two gives us energy. So if we are busy checking out our bucket list, before we know it, we get adrenaline junkie or dopamine. I'll come back to that later. Both of these are stimulants to keep us in a high feeling. And there is something related to this. Is there anyone who likes to run long periods of time, like marathons or nobody? Okay. Maybe tomorrow we speak about exercise. Okay, no joking. A runner's high is a feeling for people who have running for a long time, like marathons or ultra marathons. And that can give you afterwards some kind of bliss feeling. And it's many people thought it has to do with endorphins, which are like a pain-killing medication, which is inside of you. It's like a natural painkiller. But maybe it's cannabinoids, which are substances which are very much related to what we get when we smoke marijuana. My wife wants to say something.
No, yesterday we spoke about this while we were talking about psychedelics. You come. No, just to add this cannabis, because it's very interesting that the body makes a type of substance that is similar to this plant of the wheat plant, the cannabinoid plant. And it looks like that in the past we ate so much of this plant to help us to reduce stress, and also when we were having inflammation. The idea that the scientists nowadays have is that first we took a lot of this plant, because this plant you can find everywhere around the world. Then slowly the body started to create its own type of cannabinoid. So it's very interesting that over time we created it by ourselves. So just to add what you were saying, that the body can generate these type of hormones, to reduce stress.
So the point here, what we try to make, is we have to be aware and be careful not to get hooked in experiences or substances which give us some kind of kick, and then it's difficult to get out of it. So, for instance, if we do too many things which give adrenaline, you get an adrenaline junkie, or runner's high if you go too much. You can also get addicted to dopamine, which is now one of the main difficulties, I think, in our society. So let's look a little bit into these substances. We call this neurotransmitters. That means these are substances which have an effect in our brain and about how we feel and see the world. So dopamine, we call it the reward neurotransmitter. And it is a feeling like, yes, this is good. I like this. I want more of this. And it's being released by things which are new. So, for instance, a message on your phone, or on Facebook, or Instagram, or a like, or something similar, that is something which gives us a small burst of dopamine. But it feels so good that we want to repeat this sensation because it lasts very shortly. So you look again for the same stimulation, and before you know it, you get hooked in this circle. So the trouble is, even though you have nothing to do with sugar or alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, you're just playing with your phone. Still, it's the same system that's being stimulated. So you are becoming a dopamine junkie. And that makes you also accessible for other forms of addictions. So you become more, you have a higher risk of addictions. And the strange thing, the catch-22 is that the more you seek this feeling of dopamine, the less happy you are. So it is a rush, but it is not happiness. And many people go for it in an attempt to feel happy, but then you feel that it makes you actually unhappy. How does it work? The more dopamine you have, the less serotonin you have. And serotonin is something that we need to keep up the spirits, to keep your mood high, to prevent you from being depressed or anxiety and stuff. So the difficulty is that the more we get on our phones, or also a lot of food, junk food, also gives a rush of dopamine. It all works at the same system. Then it pulls down the serotonin. And if you have chronic stress, both of them come down. So you don't have a good mood. You even cannot have this feeling of this rush of dopamine anymore. So this is something that we need to be careful for. We need to invest in serotonin. And that is something that happens when we are emotionally bonded, when we have a connection to other people, we are contributing to society, and we are doing something meaningful. These are things that increase serotonin. And it gives contentment in less of reward. Reward is I want more. Contentment is I feel good and I have enough. I don't need any more. So it's a whole different system, but they are connected. So, as I am myself suffering many times until today of stress, I made it my hobby to collect different interventions against stress. So, and I'm also asking, every time I'm speaking, I'm asking for advice. So if you know something that you can do by yourself without substances or medication, just interventions which are helping against stress, and it's not here yet, please let me know. So the last time I gave a lecture in university for students, they told me again, touching and sex, so I put it there, and also music and dancing. But then there's, of course, relaxation, mindfulness, breathing, muscle relaxation, and visualization, creative expression, biofeedback, laughter, green and blue spaces, forest bathing. Okay, let me, I'm being helped by my wife here. So, green and blue spaces mean that when we look at nature, blue spaces is water, and green spaces is like forest or green. The effect of only look at it already gives us more health. So there's very interesting research done on this, that if you look at hospitals, like large academic hospitals, the ones who are placed in beds with a view at green or at the sunshine, they recover more quickly than all the other ones. So this has an effect. And if I have one advice for somebody who is, if you want to relax and you are lazy, then my favorite one is Shinrin-yoku. This is, the Japanese found this. This is forest bathing. So it's not only looking at green, but actually being in green, like many of us did with Lama these days. So if you want to relax, you take your car, you bring a chair, and you drive to the forest. Then you put your chair in the forest and you sit down. Don't need to do anything. It gives a diminishing of stress by 15%. I would say if you are there, make a walk. Would even be better. But if you want, you can, only being in nature already works. And yoga, tai chi, qigong, compassion, being with animals, spirituality, all of these works against stress. So this is an alternative to medication, drugs, alcohol, etc. Okay, so then the interesting part is that when we look at these different, we call this mind-body interventions, so interventions which involve the connection of body and mind, they all have the effect of releasing stress, but they also have a specific effect which the others do not so much have. So for instance, exercise gives a desensitization. So it's like the shiver of the little animal Elkana was showing. This is a release of tension in your muscles. And it also helps to improve your cognition. So we get more smart by exercising. Mindfulness is mostly about increasing your awareness. Compassion is being mild to each other and to yourself. Laughter and dancing has to do with feeling and expressing emotions. Biofeedback, that's something that is like looking at a screen, looking at your heart rate or what happens in your brain with electricity. There are all different kind of games with biofeedback, and it makes you more aware what's happening in your body. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong help us with subtle sensations in our body and also for our balance. Reciting mantras has, for instance, to do not only but also with focus and resonance. And prayer and stress, but they all have their own different focus. So let's put it into practice and do one exercise, okay? Okay. So, does any one of you have a background in psychology? No. Does anyone know the Jacobson or relaxation response? Okay, so you learned something new. It's also here, I will explain. So, you sit up on your chair in a mode that is relaxed, but not like potatoes. Try to be straight, but not tense. And then I would like to help you. We'll do the short version. First, we are going to take put tension on the muscles in your hand and in your arms. So you squeeze as strong as you can for a few seconds, and then you let go. And again, you squeeze as strong as you can. Have to be careful not to kill the microphone, but okay. and then you release. And another time. And release. Okay. Now we're going to do the legs and the feet. So try to put the muscles in your, for instance like this, or whatever you feel comfortable. But put tension as strong as you can on your legs and your feet. Keep it for at least 5 seconds. And you release. And again. Make it strong. Put effort. And release. And again. And release. Now we do the shoulders and the hands together. So put your hands and your shoulders. Put it very strong. Keep for a few seconds. And release. And again. Put effort like it's... Again. And release. Now all at once. Hands, shoulders, feet. And let go. One more time. Okay, let go. Okay, breathe out. Now go with your awareness. Try to feel. How do your arms and your legs feel? Sorry? What's that, Julia? Tired, yeah. Light, okay. Yes, it can be light, can also be heavy sometimes. Warmer or tinkling, I'm not sure how that is, like you can feel the flow. Okay, so if you put your attention there, you feel more in contact with your body, right? So this is a very basic, easy way of being inside your body, which is like also a kind of meditation, but very bodily based. You can do it only mentally, then we call it a body scan. This is a part of mindfulness meditation. You just go in your mind and then you focus on your feet and your toes. You can go through the whole body. I like to do this because when you feel very stressed, only going with the mind is a little bit difficult sometimes. So you feel this heaviness, this helps us. We call this the relaxation response, or also Jacobson. Then there's one more, which my wife will do.
All right. Actually, it's interesting, as we're doing these days, the breathing exercise with Lama, 4884. And this comes, as Lama Michel already explained, from the Indian tradition, as a preparation for meditation. And there is one doctor, Andrew Weil, and he's a quite famous doctor in America in a huge academy. And he also got known with this exercise from India. And he took this exercise towards his work in America, and he started to do research on it. What is the effect of doing this 4-7-8? So he called it 4-7-8. So the idea is you breathe in 4 seconds, you hold your breath in 7 seconds, and you breathe out in 8 seconds. And the interesting thing, as scientist, he wanted to see, does it have a scientific effect? Does it do something? And then he was very amazed to see that it reduces blood pressure. It increases the immune system. It reduces these interleukin factors, so the factors that are related to diseases. Very interesting. So when we were at a conference in America, Rogier met him, and he was doing this, I think, 15 years ago already, on stage. Everyone was a little bit like, who? What is this doctor professor is doing here? Doing a meditation. But we started to offer this to our patients in our work. So when I got a patient with high blood pressure, and I had the idea that this patient was having a lot of stress, I did not prescribe blood pressure medication to reduce the blood pressure, but I started to do this exercise. And then I gave them at their home the measurement that they could see and measure by themselves the blood pressure before they were doing the exercise and then afterwards. So we also used the biofeedback, what you were saying. It's a way of seeing what the result is. And we could reduce often the blood pressure in a very gentle way without prescribing medications. Also, I had patients with nightmares. I suggested them to do, and it had an effect. So what I do as my advice, also based on this Andrew Weil, this doctor, we do 3 times in a row, 4, 7, 8, so just 3 breaths, and then 3 times a day. And what he found is that if you do it in this way, the effect of it continues 2 or 3 hours after you did just 1 minute of this breathing exercise. The effect is still 2 or 3 hours. So it reduces adrenaline, reduces cortisol. So we did these days a lot this practice with Lama. So I think we skipped the exercise now. But just to give you a suggestion, that when you sit on the side of your bed, you can do just in 1 minute this exercise. I always say do 1 moment when you sit in the toilet, because everyone goes to the toilet once a day, for sure, hopefully. And then once in the evening, and then you have already your practice. And you will see, if you continue with doing this just 2-3 weeks in a row, it's a very easy way. And in America they say, it's cheap because it's for free, it's right under your nose. So they're always like that you don't have to pay anything. No, so this breathing exercise, it's free and it's right under your nose. So then we go to my husband also likes to share. We're just joking. We have many stories to share.
Well, because about 15 years ago, just after this conference, I thought I'd like to try out myself also. And I was seeing a lady about 45 years old, and she has had very severe panic and anxiety for over 10 years. She took every medication that is available, and nothing really worked. Sometimes for a short while, but also with side effects, so she quit all of this medication. She tried all psychotherapies, and it didn't really work. And so I thought, well, what can I do? Let me just try this. So I said to her, I'm going to give you a recipe for breathing, and not a recipe for medication. And I explained to her the whole the way how she has to do, and I wrote it down on a prescription paper. So it was a real prescription, but it says breathe like this 3 times a day, instead of take a pill 3 times a day. And to make a long story short, it really helped her a lot. We quit the therapy, and for different reasons I didn't see her for many years. And about 6 years later, I ran into her at the clinic, and then she told me, you are the one from the breathing. And she says, this was the only thing I ever learned that really helped me. And then she took out her wallet, and she opened her wallet, and inside was the prescription paper I wrote to her, and she kept it with her every day for 6 years. So this is the effect. And I like so much these kind of things, because when you need medication or therapy, you are dependent on your therapist. But these kind of things, it's also self-healing. In this center, we teach self-healing as a meditation practice. This is self-breathing, which also helps and gives people something to do by themselves. So this is why we encourage this kind of practices. So, Elkana, why is there a koala there?
It looks a little bit like me, maybe.
He can sleep as well as you.
Why this? You know the koala, this animal? Yes, from documentaries. Does anyone know how much hours a day the koala sleeps? 23. Yes. Very good. 23 hours a day a koala is sleeping. And does anyone know why the koala is sleeping so much? Maybe the koala did in a previous life so much that in this life it needs to recover from the previous life. This is really a Dharma perspective. Is there also a mundane? No. Yes. Something with the digestion. Yeah. Yes. We're warm. She says it has to do with the digestion. So I will give the clue. The koala eats eucalyptus, a plant that is very hard to digest and it's toxic. So it needs to rest in order to digest the toxins of what it's eating. No, for human, unfortunately, is saying for human it's not good. But just to start this topic about sleeping, we want to make a kind of joke. But you are right. For human beings, and we're going to talk now about sleep. What is good sleep for us? Please.
Okay, I think koala, it was a very good example because these animal eat toxic food and need to sleep long, like fast the whole day except 1 hour, if I understood well. And so, like when we accumulate emotionals or food toxins, we see that one of the best way to recover, except from breathing, exercise, self-healing, whatever is healthy, the best way is to sleep.
Yes.
And you recover very fast. So
thank you.
Thanks to you.
We put it on purpose, of course, and also with a little, eye wink, because for us humans, it is different, but sleep is a very important topic to recover and to increase the strength. So if we look at our way of living, we have a biological clock inside of our body. For some people this is logic, for some people it's actually new. So if we just look from a biological point of view, we know that in the morning we have the best concentration and coordination, and you can see that interestingly enough, around 5 is for the body the hour that it's best to do sports, but not later than that, because it also activates too much our stress system. And then also there are other parts in our body, for example, the melatonin. Later on we're going to talk more about this. At what time this starts to increase, to improve our quality of sleep. And so we have, let's say, a biological clock. If you look from the Chinese point of view, it's very interesting that we also have activation of our organs in a different order over the time. So, for example, from 11 to 1 is the cystophilia, it's the gallbladder. And then from 1 to 3, the liver is the most active organ. And nowadays, in Western medicine, we start to understand that maybe we should give some medications in a different time frame in order to digest it better in our body. So we have actually already a lot, we know, we have this knowledge, but we were not using it in an appropriate way. So later on also we will talk a little bit more, for example, about this melatonin, because it can be of help, but most people don't use it in the right way. Then, does anyone know which 3 hormones are related to our sleep? we get more into a quiz style this moment. Okay, but melatonin. Yes, you were very, yeah, pretty. Melatonina. Okay, does someone else know another one? Cortisol. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, it's related to sleep for sure. Another one. Yeah. Estrogen and progesterone. Well, I'll give some clues. The cortisol was mentioned. The melatonin is here. And just to start with the first two, as we were talking about rhythms, it's good to know that everything has its own rhythm. So let's go to the red line. In the morning, when we wake up, the melatonin is the lowest. And over time, already at 6 p.m., the melatonin starts to rise, and then in the night it's the highest. But we need this increase of melatonin in order to fall asleep. And for example, people who are taking melatonin as a tablet, often they take just 1 hour before they go to sleep. But to give the melatonin a good push, actually you should take melatonin 3 or 4 hours before going to sleep. So this is already one clue of something that we will show later on. And then one other hormone is adenosine. Someone ever heard about adenosine? No. Okay. And it's an interesting hormone because during our daily life, as we are active, the adenosine is made by the body, and later on in the night, we need this to sleep well. So exercise during the day helps us to improve our sleep in the night. So this is maybe for many people new, but to sit all day and then expect that we're going to sleep well, we did not activate well also this hormone that we really need. And at this moment, we have also a lot of disturbances on these hormones. So you could say that we are living in a huge uncontrolled evolutionary experiment, because we know all these things. We have the artificial lights, we have too warm sleeping rooms, we eat too late, too much food, too fatty food, too less with fast food, less minerals. We use medication that can disturb the whole sleeping system. We have the toxins, like we were talking about koala, that we have to digest, and we do too less exercise to have good sleep. And this artificial light, we think it's so beautiful, but at the same time we know we are disturbing so much our rhythms, also the rhythms of nature. And then, why is good sleep so important? As we spoke before, it is important to recover and to repair all different processes in our body. And also to process all the things, all this, you know, this 74 gigabytes we were talking about, this 16 movies a day. We have to digest, and this we do in the night. And also it is good when we sleep well, and we most probably know that we are more concentrated, we can learn more, we are more creative. If we sleep well, we have less energy consumption over the day, and the protection at night, protection.
Evolutionary. Evolution was like a way of to protect yourself at the night for animals and for difficulties.
Okay. So here added this one, protection at night. It's that in the past, when we were also had to be aware, of dangers. It was important that we had good sleep and moments of being very aware. And also, and this is very interesting, that when we sleep well, we have a kind of washing machine in our brain. So okay. So Rogier is going to explain some more about that. And of course, if we don't sleep well, as we explained in the first day, we have more risks of diseases. No? The repair system does not work well. So maybe Rogier wants to continue.
Yes. So I think, and also the point of the koala which was gestured is that during the sleep it's mostly detoxification more than digestion. So they need to get rid of all the toxins of the plants they are eating. This is one explanation of the long sleeping. Anyway, I like this one very much. This was a study in science some years ago, and what they found is that many people say, I'm not clear in my head, when they didn't have sleep well, right? So this seems to be very true, because there is a system within our brain. It's like it's similar to lymph. I'm not sure you know, but when we have the blood going through our veins, it also goes into the muscles and then all the tissues, and then it goes back through the other veins. So this is like a flow of blood, and the drainage, like the clearing of tissues, also happens in the brain. So to put it shortly, there's kind of a washing machine working when you sleep, but it doesn't work when you are awake at night. So if you don't sleep well, you are literally not clear in your head, because there are still toxins in your brain. And that's, I think, a very interesting finding, that something that we already know also has a basis. Now I have to change this. And another aspect is that during the night, besides getting rid of the toxins, what also happens, especially when we have rapid eye movement, I will explain later, in these phases of the sleep where we dream, we have something which is called neuroplasticity. And that means that connections in our brain are making loose and making new connections again. So there's like a change of connections in the brain, especially in this phase of sleep, which helps us to have new insights, creativity, processing emotions, etc. So let's look a little bit more about healthy sleep to understand how these things work. This is what we call a hypnogram, and this is how sleep should be on average. So ideally, you would go to sleep around 11 at night, and then you fall asleep. You go down in these phases. You go through light sleep, 1 and 2, and then especially phase 3 and 4, this is what we call deep sleep, and this gives you a feeling of refreshment, like you are really awake again, able to do a new day, especially in these phases. But what you see in between, you have these phases which are red, and we call this REM sleep, rapid eye movement. So the eyes go like this, and we dream mostly in these phases. But it's only for a short period of time, and what you can also see, it's mostly in the early morning. Also a little bit in the earlier phase, but not so much. So here we have phase 3 and 4, and here we have mostly REM, and in between, it's normal to have a few awakenings. Not like 25, but 2, 3, 4, it's normal. And what I also like about this slide is that maybe you heard that grandmother's wisdom, the hours you sleep before midnight, they count double. Do you know about this? This is like this old saying. Maybe it's a little bit related to this, because you see, especially in the first period of the night, we have the most refreshing sleep. This really gives you a boost. It's not so much anymore after 3 o'clock. So maybe grandmother was right, and we need to have early sleep at least. But we also need REM sleep. And one of the difficulties of our time is that the enemy of REM sleep is alcohol, drugs, and most of the medication we prescribe. So me, as a psychiatrist, we often prescribe antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication when it's needed. But it has a side effect that it takes away some of the REM sleep. And that is not so good, because we not only need a large amount of sleep, like 6 to 8 hours, or maybe a little more, but we also need a good quality of sleep. So what you see here is, for most of the population, it's best to sleep between 7 and 8, maybe 8.5 hours. If you sleep far less, we get more of disease, and also even it's related to death. But it's also true when we sleep far too much, like more than 10 hours. It's also not healthy. We need to be in the balance, in the middle. This is a total amount. Besides this, we also need enough of this rapid eye movement sleep. And if we don't have that, it's also correlated to disease. And we call this the silent epidemic, because of many people using substances, alcohol, drugs, medication. We see many people now having a long period of time, 8 hours sleep, but not good quality, and still they feel tired in the morning.
Yeah, just to add two things. Also, the sleeping pills that we prescribe reduce these REM phases. So even the ones that we think helps us to sleep better, it helps to make the hours longer that we can sleep, but the quality of sleep is less. So this is, I think, a very important, because so many people use sleeping pills, but we will later on give some alternatives for that. And of course, during our lifetime, the sleep pattern changes. So for kids, they have to sleep more compared to the middle age, and the elderlies, they in general sleep less, and they have more awakenings during the night. So often, for example, me, I see elderly at my clinic, and they say, "Oh, but I wake up so much in the night." And then I explain to them this slide, and often it helps them to reduce the anxiety. Oh, okay, this is quite normal. Sure, sometimes the cause can be too much pee-pee or other causes that they rise up in the night, and that disturbs the sleep. So it needs to, let's say, there are different ways to look at it, but I think it's good to add these aspects to it.
So how many people do have problems with sleeping? 1 in 3. So let's do a quiz here. Who have often difficulty with sleeping? Like, say, a few times a week. Yeah, it's almost 1/3, maybe a little bit less. On average is this. So it's difficulty falling asleep, or staying asleep, or waking up in the early mornings, despite having enough time and opportunity to sleep, and it limits also your daily functioning. This is what we call sleep problem of disorder. So, Elkana, this is your place.
Now, I thought it would be good to do just a small quiz. Who of you do sleep 7 hours or more?
On average.
On average. Okay. Half. More than half. All right. Who is waking up during the night 1 or 3 times? Well, almost everyone. Interesting, huh? So this is, it's correct, it's normal, okay? And who is awakening more than 3 times a night on average? Almost no one, no one. Okay, and if you wake up, is it longer than 50 minutes? Who is longer than 50 minutes awake? 1 person, okay, 2, yeah. A snoozer. Are you a snoozer? Someone who snoozes during the day? Falls asleep. Ah, I see. Yes, snoozers. Okay. We come back later on for the snoozers. And coffee. How many cups of coffee you drink during the day? More than 5. Please raise the hand. Being honest, huh? Less than 4? 4 or less? Yeah, 4 or less. Yeah. 3? 3 cups a day. Okay, no, brava. Okay, 2. So if you want to drink coffee, do it in the early morning, not in the evening, of course. Who's snoring?
You have to ask the partner.
Exactly, snoring is something that the partner knows more often. If you're of young age and snoring, often it has to do with the adenoids, no? This part. If you have overweight, the snoring can be of that cause. There can be also other causes. But snoring really reduces the quality of sleep. Who is keeping the telephone in the sleeping room? On, let's say on, yeah, okay. Please switch it off, because the quality of sleep reduces minimum 15% just by keeping it on.
I saw one research saying that about 1 in 5 young people keep their telephone on during sex as well. I'm not sure what's the use of the information, okay. But just to keep it going.
All right. Then one more thing. Television in the sleeping room? Okay. Also, when you wake up, please don't put on your tablet or your television or your telephone, because or the light. It's better to keep it off and use the bathroom only for sleep and other pleasures. Because
a little bit of light during the night diminishes melatonin, and this disrupts your sleep very easily. So if you be careful, and also it's best when at the evening already to dim your lights, not to have like very flashy lights, but from 8 o'clock to have like a little bit dim lights. It prepares you better for sleep.
Yeah. All right. And then I was a bit shocked to see in Italy, it seems that worldwide, you're the champion in not sleeping well. And but another interesting thing I found is that at least what they say in Italy, the amount of sleeping tablets is quite low. So it's there. Italy, 1% out of 1,000 inhabitants. So I don't know if this is right. Maybe Italians are also good to sometimes.
They use wine, I think.
They use wine, or they don't. They do, but they don't say. I don't know. Anyhow, we talked about it. No, the consumption of sleeping medication is huge. And once more, we already went through this slide, so I'll skip this one. Not sleeping well is not good. And then this, what you see here are some politicians sleeping, but
at very crucial moments in time.
Exactly. The sad part is that this happens in very crucial moments of decision making, that they fell asleep. They have a lot of sleep deprivation. And this right above, this went worldwide because it was a day to remember Martin Luther King. So then in the newspapers, they put Clinton has a dream, because Martin Luther King was often mentioned. He had a dream. Okay, yeah. But it's really a big problem everywhere.
Can I add to that? Because you see there the judges of the Supreme Court in America, and judging over important decisions. which affect the whole country. Like 200 million people are affected. And also you see there the British politicians, when they were discussing whether or not to keep the banks alive during the economical crisis, like very important influential decisions being made by people who sleep often less than 5 hours a night. And their ability to make decisions is impaired, which we know of many politicians, but also especially these ones.
Yeah. And one other shocking slide. What is the comparison between all these moments in our history of huge, how do you say in English? Catastrophes. Because here you remember maybe Chernobyl, the huge explosion of this radioactive fabric, and all these other ones happened. But all these catastrophes happened in the night, when the workers were deprived in their sleep. So we need sleep, and we need good qualities. So maybe Rogier, you want to say something about medication intake?
Okay. Okay, so do they work, medication for sleeping? Did anyone have any positive experience for sleeping medication? A little bit, yeah. Yes, it works a little bit against anxiety and against sleep problem. So on average, we sleep 20 minutes more fast, and in total 50 minutes longer during the night when you take medication for sleeping. So yes, it works, but there is also a downside. So what's the main problem with sleeping medication? Yes, all of that. So you get addicted to it because you need more in time. There are cognitive deficits, there's falling, there's many side effects which are difficult. You cannot drive in your car, it makes the risk of alcohol bigger, so there are a lot of difficulties. And especially after about 6 weeks, you are so used to it that it doesn't have any positive effect anymore, but you are still having negative effect when you want to stop, called as rebound. So then when you stop, your problem gets back bigger. So there are some natural medications which have some effect on sleeping, and we sometimes prescribe it. Melatonin, there's a lot of confusion about this. Elkana already mentioned. So the best way to use it would be to give it about 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. Why? Because our natural release of melatonin already happens about 6 o'clock at night. So you mimic the natural course when you make sure it's early prescribed. And you also have to be aware not to take too much, because many people take high dosages. But if you would mimic the natural release of melatonin, you would use about 1.3 or 1.5 milligrams. Many people take 1, 5 or even 10 milligrams. So it's 100 times more. And we are not sure what will be the effects on the long time, because it influences your biological clock. So I'm not so sure that it won't be difficult in time. There's some effect of valeriana. You know valeriana? Valeriana? Yeah. So there's no strong evidence that it works against stress, but it seems to improve at least the quality of sleep. So people feel more refreshed waking up. This is one of the effects of valerian. Then there is lavender. Some of you, I know, have already tried this. This is the lavender from the plant. It's like very condensed into a capsule, and it works against anxiety and sleeping problems. It is almost as strong as medication, but it has far less side effects. It's not zero, but there's not so much. And then there is ashwagandha, which is a herb that diminishes the effects of stress. So it puts down your stress level with about 20%, and that makes it also more easy for people to sleep and calm down. Passiflora may also do something. There's less evidence for it, but it seems to work, and there's no so much side effects. And then there's, maybe you know, also from grandmother's advice, putting half a teaspoon of nutmeg into warm milk. Anyone try that? For some people it seems to work for sleeping. So these are some of the medications we sometimes use. But at least, maybe even more important is we can do something with our lifestyle and also our sleep hygiene. So we like to go through this with you. Sunlight during the day helps sleeping at night because it regulates the biological clock. So if you go by airplane and you have a jet lag, one of the best things to do is to get up early at the place where you are and have sunlight and exercise. Because these two, we call this Zeitgebers, these are the two which regulate our biological clock and help you to adjust. So yes, at least 30 minutes of exercise a day, not too late at evening, especially not explosive, like lifting weights or doing sports at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening, like they do now with the Olympics. It's not so good for the people, the athletes. Caffeine intake, already talk about this, not preferably only in the morning and not too much. Be careful, it's not only in coffee, it's also in tea, it's in soft drinks, it's in chocolate. There are many different sources of caffeine. You have to be careful with it. Alcohol, we could speak a whole week about alcohol, and there's a lot of controversy, but it seems there's a lot of, now some consensus that maybe one glass of red wine drunk with dinner may have good effects, especially on heart and the veins, because the substances inside may help against inflammation and also to make the blood a little bit thinner. But it seems to increase cancer already with the first sip. So any amount of alcohol will increase cancer, but it will, up to a certain limit, improve heart disease. So maybe one glass might balance there. No smoking, of course. No heavy meals late at night. Well, who are we as Dutchies to lecture you on food? I don't think we have something to say there. So do whatever you do and keep eating in Italian. But be careful with sugar and fat, because these two also impair the sleeping. Overweight, of course. Then, already mentioned, always being alert with your mobile phones, laptops, screens, any kind of screens, keep them out of the bedroom. And make sure you have already resting moments during the day and cooling down time, which means from about 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, start to cool down. Things we are doing now is actually not so good, because this is stimulating and cognitive, whereas at this time you should be cooling down.
But we do yoga this evening, so...
Okay, we make up for it. Then be careful for post-traumatic stress disorder. Not post-traumatic stress disorder, but post-dramatic stress disorder. And this is drama. Many young people, children, they like to play games late at night, and they are mimicking war. So they are shooting like, and making fights, and it is like a play. But for the brain, it is the sensation of being in a fight. And this is drama, which increases your stress, and this impairs the sleep. So be careful for that at night. And there are some over-the-counter medication which everybody can buy, and they can also impair your sleep. For instance, painkillers and against sprays and stuff like that. I continue?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Then your bedroom, make sure the bedroom is not too warm. And in this kind of climate, it's a challenge sometimes, but on average, 15 to 16 degrees would be best for sleeping. And then, of course, quiet, fresh, dark, and use it only for, against sex. We look a little bit... I don't know why sex is now appearing all the time, but anyway. Well, if you're very active, you get warm, so... Okay, we go on fast. This is distracting. This is the... okay, this... Yeah, keep your worries outside. So Lama Ganchen Rinpoche once give us advice, give to many people. And so we use, many of us, we ruminate. Yesterday I talked about our monkey mind and also about the default mode network, which is a system in our brain which is always active. And so it's sometimes difficult when you have a lot of this rumination to sleep. So Lama Ganchen used to say, make sure you put boxes outside of your bedroom. Not real boxes, like boxes in space. And you just put all of your worries in different boxes. Like imagine you're putting all your worries on work is in this box. All my worries on the relationship is in that box. Worries on money is there. Worries on my family is there. So you put them, you imagine you put them there and you leave them outside the bedroom. It's like an imagining. But I think it's interesting and it works for me. So why don't you try it? And then this one we like very much. You do.
All right. We're just almost finishing, but this one is... I hope you have heard a lot of good things and that also you take it with you at home and make use of it. But they did let's say a questionnaire in the Dutch. This is again Holland, in the Dutch community. To see what they know about sleep and how they act based on the knowledge. And unfortunately, you can see, for example, on the top, 73% of the population knows it's not good to keep your cell phone on, and they said, okay, 94% finally admitted that they keep on their telephone in the just before going to sleep, just looking at it. So they know it's not good, but they're still doing it. Same for drinking coffee. They know 62% know it's not good to do, and 66% of the people say they're still doing and drinking coffee in the evening. Same for alcohol. It's better not to drink before sleeping. 59% knew this, and 68 of them are doing it. And also moving, most people know it's better to move to increase the quality of sleep, and only 53% is doing it. And also, actually, this one we didn't talk about it yet, but it would be good that we wake up every day at this more or less at the same time. This gives the best rhythm. 78% knows that it's good to do, and again, 73% says that they don't do. So knowing is not yet doing. So we hope this evening can contribute to some new insight and also to really make use of it and change the habits. And I think we're almost there because it's already 7 o'clock.
Maybe we leave it here because tomorrow we were going to look why it is so difficult to change our lifestyle. Why these numbers are there. Because most of us, we know what is healthy, but we don't do. And if we try to change, we fail. And if we do change, after a few time, we lose. So 95% of all the lifestyle changes are lost within 1.5 years. Still, we can increase this number if we know how. And this we will reveal tomorrow. So, sweet dreams for everyone. And if you have 1 or 2 questions, we can do.
Allora, my experience, I discovered a few years ago in my pharmacy in my special solution, alcoholic solution with passiflora, valeriana, and biancospino is another plant. 33% for each one. I take every night. I'm very excited and stressed, and my life changed completely. Completely. I describe my night like Tutankhamun. In the morning, I can wake up. It depends of the quantity, but it's a very, very cheap. 14 euro for 100 millimeters. Yes. And you can decide the quantity if you are more excited or not before sleeping. And you have not the effect of the drugs.
Yeah.
You can take, do not take, more or less, and that's a very good experience.
Thank
you
sharing.
for your
Yes, thank you.
conference, very good.
Thank you.
Are there other questions, or shall we go for dinner?
today.
All right. Have
Thank
a
you.
lovely dinner. And for the ones who do like to do some yoga, at 8 we have Nabin once more to have a nice sleeping yoga. Alle 8 abbiamo Nadine, insegnante del yoga, per finire questo giorno. In un